Welcome. My name is Maryann Lombardi, and I'm the Associate Director for the Creative Affairs Office here in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the Care for Creatives Community Conversation Series on mental health. Care for Creatives is a partnership between the DC Creative Affairs Office and the George Washington University, which provides pay-what-you-can mental health support to any creative and entrepreneur in the DC area who needs it. You can find more information about Care for Creatives and how to receive care on our website at creativeaffairsdc.com. In today's conversation, I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about managing our mental health during the holidays with licensed marriage and family therapist April Preston and Sunny Sumter from the DC Jazz Festival. So I'm so excited that you guys are with us today, and welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Now, April, can we start with you and let's get to know you a little bit. I'd love to know how you got started in the work that you do and how you help folks through your practice.
Absolutely. Well, my name is April Preston, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I got started in this field because my parents actually provided foster care throughout my childhood. And so I would have the most amazing foster siblings over the years that I was just growing up. And I was always just curious about the families that they came from and just, the things that brought them into foster care. And I just was always just curious about who helps children that are displaced and away from home. And I ended up taking a psychology class in high school and just fell in love with the field. I went on to Grambling State University in Louisiana and studied psychology, and then got my master's in marriage and family therapy. And so I focus on family therapy. And I love just working with families and helping them to just, find wellness and find balance, in life.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, Sunny, you're with the DC Jazz Festival, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about the DC Jazz Festival and yourself and how you got started in the arts?
Wow, do we have a full hour? It's a long
For
story,
you, Sunny,
but
yes.
I'm executive director of the DC Jazz Festival. I've lived in DC all of my life, born and raised in Morday, and was a jazz singer. Got my degree from Howard University. We have so much to celebrate right now. And I went on to perform with my group all around the world before I became a proud mom of two teenagers. And now I started off the great founder, Charlie Fishman, who used to manage Dizzy Gillespie, realized that there was no jazz festival in the nation's capital. So he started it literally on a paper napkin. And that was 16 years ago. I came on board to help him out with partnerships. A couple of years later, became executive director, and I've been in the seat ever since. It's been a rewarding opportunity to support so many of our regional jazz artists, using our stage as an international platform to showcase so much great jazz talent in this town. And so that's been my mission. It's something that I wake up every day excited to do. We have an annual festival that happens in June. Let's hope we can bring a few people together in 2021 in some way. If not, we will kick it off virtually and do our part to provide enjoyable, enriching jazz experiences for the world.
Well, and the arts does such an incredible job of bringing people together, and building community, and your festival does that incredibly well. Can you talk a little bit about what that means, right? Like how that works? What is it about the arts that does that?
Well, it's so amazing. Here in the nation's capital, we have over 30 prominent arts organizations that have really distinct missions in promoting some aspect of the art, many different genres. And for us, it's really about, and if I can speak for the greater body of amazing arts organizations in this town, we do such an amazing job of providing a cultural destination for DC, right? I mean, you can come here and you can hear great jazz, see great dance and theater, great acting, amazing visual art at some of the fantastic museums. And I know I'm leaving out an art form, so forgive me. But the point is that everywhere you step in this great city, in every ward, jazz and art thrives. And I think that's really the beauty of this town. And we do a lot of collaborations, which is what this conversation will touch on a little bit later. That's also the beauty about DC. There's actually people that get along in DC,
Yeah.
the arts community. We do great collaborative work together, throughout the seasons, and it really is a fantastic opportunity for me to be in this seat as executive director to be able to partner with so many fantastic organizations around
Oh, that's great.
Definitely.
So we've got some holidays coming up. Well, it always seems like there is a holiday coming up somewhere along the
Yeah.
line, and April, I'm wondering if you could help us put some context around the fact that approaching holidays is hard, right? Like
Mhm.
there's something about it that is just it can be difficult for folks, and can you help us understand a little bit of why?
Absolutely. I think if I were to sum it up, it would just be expectations. There are often expectations around the holiday season, just to be joyful, right? We keep having these reminders that this is the most joyful time of the year. And for many, it's just not. Especially during this year in 2020. For many, they're experiencing the first year without a loved one, the first year without a job, maybe even the first year in a new city away from family. And so, the holidays are not always the greatest time of the year, as we are often told. And I think we can often feel the pressures of participating in social, family, and community norms, right? Getting together for the holiday, eating certain meals, practicing certain rituals. And so that can put a lot of pressure and stress on people. They can feel like they have to do things that they just don't feel comfortable in doing this year. And so the holidays, it can just be a stressful time, because of the expectations that we often have from family and society. And it can also be a time where we're expected to do things more than what we usually do, engage in alcohol and substances, right? That we're supposed to be just kind of free with our money, as if our budget just goes out of the window, right? And so it can be these expectations that we're just supposed to be in this space that is just, joyful and beautiful. And that may not always be the case for everyone.
Yeah, well, and it seems also like that there can be a lot of relationship conflict around the holidays
Yeah.
too, because it seems like there are certain people we're supposed to be with, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little
Yeah.
bit about that dynamic as well?
Absolutely. I think one of the assumptions of the holidays is that you actually have family and friends to gather with, right? To be around. And that's not the case for everyone. It also is the assumption that you get along with your family, right? That you have supportive people to connect to. And that may not always be the case. It may require that you connect with people who cause you to be stressed, to feel overwhelmed, to confront challenges, that you've been able to kind of distance yourself from. And so it is this kind of expectation that you are gathering with folks that you may have issues with. Or you may not have at all. There's plenty of people who don't naturally have families to connect to. And so there can be these just kind of this expectation again to have supportive people, and not everyone has that.
Yeah, Sunny, what have you been hearing and feeling out in the community of how people are navigating this year?
It's such a tough time, and April said so much about the sentiment of what expectations are versus reality. And in the community right now, especially as artists, so many artists are unemployed. They had their last paying gig in March, something they've never ever gone through in their entire professional lives.
Mhm.
And this is replicated, throughout the country and throughout the world. So this is such a tough time for the creative community and for entrepreneurs that
Mhm.
have spent so much of their livelihood preparing their businesses to thrive and to be successful. And you have a couple of months, 4 months, and everything's wiped out.
Yeah.
It's such a time that we've never experienced in our lives, and there is a lot of sadness. There's a lot of trepidation about the start of the holiday season, and the fact that we can't buy gifts, and the fact that we can't even perhaps even cook Thanksgiving dinner
Mhm.
or put up a Christmas tree. So
Mhm.
it's at a time of year when it should be joyful. mm, It's going to be tough this year.
Mm.
Yeah.
I know that you're doing something incredibly important this year, bringing people together. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? I don't want to call it an event because I think it's so much more than an event.
So
Can
much
you?
more.
Yeah, can you help us explain a little bit about what's going to be going on in a couple weeks?
So, a friend of mine who runs the Capitol Hill Jazz Foundation, Erin Myers, who's also very politically active in DC, said, we need to do something. So many people like ourselves have lost a major loved one, and we need to help each other get through this holiday season.
Mm.
There's so many first, right? So I said, sure, I'll take it on, and so we came up with this idea of a day of reflection, the
Mm.
Monday before Thanksgiving, when we're all thinking about what we're going to cook, how we're going to do it, what family members we're going to see, what face we're going to put on, how we're going to
Mm.
just get through the holiday season. And I should
Yeah.
share with you that I lost my mom in May
Oh.
to COVID, and just the idea of a Thanksgiving meal without her, it will be a first. And so it was easy for me to say absolutely, because quite honestly, I need the help too. I need a
Yeah.
community of people to help me cope and to come up with some positive strategies to help me deal with this first. So I'm chairing this day of reflection where it's an opportunity for, now we have 25 organizations, performing arts organizations that are all participating with some art. We're putting together a 2-hour program to remember our loved ones who we lost this year. And we also have an opportunity to read the names.
Mm.
So there is
Mm.
actually a website that you can go to where you can put your loved one's names there and have it read, um, to be part of this program. In
Mm.
addition, we have Maya Angelou wrote a poem called When Great Trees Fall. It's the perfect poem for this time, for this period, for 2020, all the great giants that we've lost, not just in the city, but around the world, that has impacted our lives here in this community. So we're going to have an exceptional group of art, of luminaries, of celebrities that are going to read this
Mm.
poem for us to help us remember, to help us honor those loved ones. And we hope that it becomes a day of reflection for not only the community in DC, we are in the nation's capital, but we hope that this becomes an opportunity for others to do the same in other cities around the country. We do need that time. We need a day of reflection where we can all reflect together collectively
Yeah.
around so much that's happened.
Wow, that's beautiful. It's going to be such a wonderful, wonderful day. You mentioned maybe a little sneak peek of some of the folks who will be reading
Mm.
that poem.
Well, I can tell you a couple. Malcolm Jamal Warner is
Mm.
joining us. We all know him as he from the Cosby Show. He's joining us. Leslie Foster has decided to lend her beautiful voice as well.
Hmm.
We know her from USA 9, and Angela Stribling, the award-winning host, will be joining us as well. And there's a couple of other people
Mm.
that I cannot mention that will really be a great surprise when they
Oh,
come
that's
up. But really,
fantastic.
it really is in the spirit of people just wanting to volunteer. This is all
Hmm.
volunteer too, by the
Yeah.
way. Arts organizations from around the city, and I'm talking about the prominent ones, and that we're all prominent in every ward, from the Arc to Washington Ballet to Ford's Theater to Boulder
Yeah.
Shakespeare to Step Africa to DC Jazz
Mm.
Festival,
Mhm.
to Washington Performing Arts. I could go on, but really, it really is led by an abundant group of caring arts organizations that wants to celebrate on this day and also remember
Hmm.
so many that we've lost.
Well,
It's
April,
been
it sounds like this community of folks have really put together an active way to help themselves and help so many more navigate
Yeah.
this time. Are there other coping skills or ways that we can not only help ourselves, but also things that we can be doing to help others that we may see that might need a little extra support?
Absolutely. I borrowed from the World Health Organization. They have a list of things that we can just be mindful of just in general. They have a mental health first aid. It's very similar to a traditional first aid, but it focuses more on emotions and behavior. And so one of the first things that they suggest is that we pay attention, that we are observant of others, checking in with folks and asking, have you eaten today? Checking in with ourselves. Have we eaten today? How many times have you been deep in your work and you're just kind of just dragging along and just noticing your energy shifting and changing and you realize I have not eaten today. I don't know about you all, but that happens to me. And so checking in with yourself, are your bodily needs met? Have you had water? Have you gotten sunlight? Have you moved your body? Have you taken a break from screens, right? We're in this pandemic where we are doing everything remotely, right? And so we are looking at screens much more often than we have in the past. And so taking a break from those screens can just help your body to feel a bit more balanced. And so one of the first things we can do is just to pay attention, checking in with ourselves and checking in with each other. Beyond that, just quintessential, how are you doing, right? Taking it a step further and really asking, how are you sleeping? Have you talked to your family? Have you connected to community? And so taking the check-ins a bit deeper. The second thing we can do and what we can encourage others to do is to not cause more harm, right? When people set boundaries, when they say, I don't feel comfortable coming, not asking those questions, why? Giving judgment or, scrutiny, right? Scrutinizing their choice, not causing more harm. And so practicing empathy with others, giving grace to others so that they can feel confident in the decisions that they've made to take care of themselves. And practicing the same thing for ourselves, right? When you notice yourself not being as productive or as joyful or not really wanting to participate in those rituals or just kind of community cultural norms, practicing grace with yourself. Allowing this year to be a little different. There's a lot, as Sunny has said, that we are experiencing in 2020 alone. There are so many things that are on our plate. And what I like to tell my clients is that we are living in an abnormal time. And so the symptoms and the things that you are experiencing, they're normal. I mean, I don't expect people to not be impacted by this year. There's so many things going on that it's normal to not feel like yourself. And so practicing grace with yourself. And the last thing I would say is look for those bright spots, look for the things that are going well. Believe it or not, with all of those things going on, there are still great things that are happening. The jazz fest that's happening, the people connecting to the arts, people just being intentional about finding ways to still stay connected, getting outside. I mean, there are good things that are still happening. And so honoring those things, relishing in those things, because they are happening, even as we may struggle to.
Mm. Well, one of the things that I hear people bring up a bit, which seems kind of hard to navigate, is a lot of folks say, "Well, I haven't lost somebody, so it's not so bad for me," and it's almost like there's a competition for
Mhm,
grief,
mhm.
or caring or impact, and in some ways that seems counterproductive, right? Because we can all we're all feeling something, right?
Yeah.
And we are all impacted in varying ways, and it seems like if we can take away the competition meter about all of that, it seems like it helps bring people together in a way that I think can be really like therapeutic for all of us. So like I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about navigating that grief meter, or how people manage to approach grief.
Yeah, yeah. I think Empathy is probably the route that I would go, just empathizing with those who have experienced loss. But to be clear, loss does not only relate to death. There can be loss in lifestyle, right? Many of our lives do not look the same as we've once known them to be. We've lost simple things like transitioning from work, allowing that space to be, that uh, commute from work to home allows us to really shift from our professional lives to our personal lives. And so there's loss that we are all experiencing on a number of different levels. And just practicing empathy with others. You don't have to experience the same loss. You don't have to, assume that you know how someone feels, but you can be a good listener. You can be present with them. You can just be supportive of them and not give in to that notion of that you have to kind of have or experience the same thing as them to show empathy. Um,
Mm.
you know, empathy is is one of the easiest things that we can do when we put our minds to it.
Well, Sunny, how can people become a part of this day, right? How can they participate? How can they help?
Well, I think this conversation, listening to this and sharing it with others is probably going to be a big step. Anyone that listens to this, to just take a moment to hear April saying so many things, giving us so many useful tools. And so I hope that we'll have an opportunity to share it with others and share these ideas with others. For the day of reflection, you can go to, we'll watch it on Facebook Live at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on Monday, November the 23rd. And it will be a 2-hour program. And so we'll spread the word in every way that we can, to make sure that we have as many people across the DMV involved, because we really believe that this is a community swell, and we'd like to see everyone really participating for these 2 hours, to be a part of this opportunity for us to not only hear these amazing tributes and these remembrances, but to find some way to heal through it ourselves, or to find some tool in it that then we can then share with someone else. Because I do believe that we are better together. And that's one of the beautiful things about the arts is really being able to give that, and to have that understanding. So, I really want everybody to really go even to our website, which is dayofreflection.org, and you can sign up a loved one's name, add that to the list so that their name can be read. But really, just spread the word about this, because we want it to actually be proclaimed.
Mhm.
Monday, November 23rd is a day of reflection day.
It's beautiful.
That is beautiful. Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time to share all this information with us, and we're looking forward to the 23rd for that. And just as April says, for us all to practice a little empathy, I'm going to make sure that I go home today and I call a couple people that I don't talk to on a regular basis. So I think that's good advice for all of us. So again, this is Care for Creatives, community conversations on mental health. And if anybody does need care, you can get care from the Care for Creatives program, and you can find out any information you need on that on our website at creativeaffairsdc.com. Thank you both for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Maryann. Thank you for having this. How wonderful is this? All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.